strange artifacts have frequently been discovered in China during archaeological digs throughout the years. These artifacts range from 1,000-year-old corpses with their skin and flesh completely intact to bones that don't belong to any known creature, not even dinosaurs. Professor Yang Shalin, one of the scientists involved, established post 749 in the Cunlin Mountains in 1978 with the explicit goal of deciphering the meaning behind all these puzzling finds. Hu Bai is one of the numerous soldiers putting in a lot of effort in the excavation in 1979. The professor's daughter Yang Ping is always there to support him and assist him in regaining his strength, even though the task is exhausting, and he frequently passes out from pure exhaustion. Hu Bai thought she had known her for a long time even though it was only his first meeting. Their friendship makes his pal Song Sun envious of the closeness between them. The cave starts to shake when the group takes another enormous skull from an unidentified animal, and then it explodes, wiping out their entire camp. Officer Han Juriang leads the soldiers as they prepare their weapons for combat, but only Professor Yang and a few employees emerge from the cave. But all is not lost in this incident. A path has appeared inside the mountain, and Professor Yang will lead a special team to investigate. Yang Pin offers to assist her father right away, which prompts Hu Bai to offer assistance as well. This leads Song Sun to offer assistance as well. The group enters the tunnel and proceeds along the path they have found until they reach a massive abyss, which they then climb down. Along the way, they notice a creature that resembles a butterfly hovering around. Eventually they reach an icy platform with another gap in the middle, which they descend as well, leading them to an undiscovered cave teeming with weird fossils. They eventually discover an exit that leads to the exact opposite mountain from the one they initially entered after some time spent exploring. Professor Yang informs Hu Bai that there are rumors that the gate to an old kingdom that belonged to a semi-secret government is located somewhere in the region. The other troops interrupt their conversation to inform them of a significant discovery, a massive paw print in the snow. Professor Yang and his men start following the trail of paw prints to locate the beast that left them, which is actually close by, while Han and the rest of the team finish building a door at the mountain entrance. Upon closer inspection, they discover that the creatures they initially encountered are not at all like butterflies. Rather, they are the little flying guys from the cave. They look like strange bats. When they land on a sleeve, nothing happens, but one of the soldiers catches one with his bare hand, which turns out to be a mistake because he instantly begins to burn with a blue flame at a frightening pace, until all that's left are his bones. The troops fire at the bats to chase them away, but not before losing a few men to the flames. Soon, the bats are all around them. The enormous beast is scared off by all the shots and flees, but its abrupt, violent turn triggers an avalanche. As the snow engulfs several of the soldiers, the group begins to run down the mountain, but eventually they reach an abyss that prevents them from continuing. Before they jump, Professor Yang ties Hu Bai and his daughter together since they have no other option. After the two tumble and their rope becomes tangled in a chunk of ice, they move back and forth a few times, till the friction breaks the line and they both fall. Hu Bai still doesn't know how he survived the fall, even months later, when he was sleeping on a train. This is especially true after he lost more comrades, who were stabbed by the ice or struck in the head. There are just 4 party members remaining as he awakens at the bottom of the abyss: Song Sun, Yang Ping, Hu Bai, and Professor Yang. Once they have collected as many fallen supplies as they can, the suddenly very small team sets out some torches and carries on with their investigation. They discover what Professor Yang refers to as the Sacred Palace of Cunlin, a massive cave with a lofty tower inside that is encircled by architectural remnants. It is claimed that the tower contains 9 levels that contain trapped demon monsters, and this is the location that Professor Yang has been searching for all along. He bows his head in supplication and lights a candle at some sort of altar, creating a strange, towering flame that draws a large number of bats and surrounds the tower in a red glow. Professor Yang sends Hu Bai and his daughter because he thinks they can open the tower door. When the two enter the room together, the professor's idea comes true. The door opens and glows, bringing forth a host of spirits that fill the space. However, everything vanishes in an instant as Song Sun extinguishes the candle since he dislikes the thought of unleashing the demon. The group moves quickly since the cave is starting to collapse and they don't want to be discovered by rocks or the pursuing bats. Song Sun gives himself up and remains behind to act as bait. He is killed by the blue fire of the bats and eliminates a large number of them when his body blows apart. However, a number of bats are still at large, and they target the surviving 3, who have at least created some space between them. They discover an exit, but it only leads to a high ledge behind a waterfall, so they are unable to proceed very far. Hu Bai tries to fend off the bats with a torch, but they manage to catch up and bite him, setting his shoulder on fire. In an attempt to put out the fire, Yang Ping pushes him off the edge and into the ocean. She and her father shortly follow. When Hu Bai and Yang Ping discover each other underwater, a second enormous dinosaur-like creature swiftly pushes them apart, snatching Yang Ping in its maw and carrying her off. Hu Bai swims out of the devastated area and returns to base in the bitter cold. Officer Han tends to the burn on his shoulder and informs him that Hu Bai is the lone survivor and that all of the party's remains have been located, with the exception of Yang Ping and the professors. He makes the decision to end his life and go back home, but as he rides the train, he can't stop thinking that Chang's son is with him and feeling disappointed in himself as the fantasy fades. Hu Bai, not knowing that Officer Han and scientist Chen Dong are searching for him, gets down at a train station close to the countryside and is picked up by Mr. Wang, his new employer. Hu Bai starts working at Mr. Wang's library in 1982, which leads to a very tranquil life. Mr. Wang invites him to a local restaurant for lunch, where Hu Bai is astonished to see Wang Kaikswan, his childhood friend, who works there as an entertainment. Again, Hu Bai believes Mr. Wang purposefully brought him there. Hu Bai discovers, while working at the library, a book of Professor Yang's research that even has an illustration of the Demon Tower. This realization makes it clear that the professor has always wanted to open the tower, and that he also knew Hu Bai and Yang Ping could succeed, which is why he has worked to keep them close and safe. At post 749, however, adventurers discovered a live woman who resembled Yang Ping and went by the name Shirley inside a casket. Since she doesn't remember Yang Ping and appears to possess some unexplained abilities, they will lock her up and keep a close eye on her while they try to treat her. Coming full circle, Hu Bai continues to receive Professor Yang's books at the library with marked pages only for him. With Wang Kaikswan's encouragement, he develops an obsession with these tales and devotes months to researching them in order to learn the truth about them. A humanoid race with ancestry from Saturn formerly existed in the planet of the demon. The tower is their legacy. They are the offspring of both the demon and the human. The tower was supposed to be guarded by guardians, but 10,000 years ago, when mankind managed to free themselves from the grasp of the demons, this race vanished from Earth. However, there are still several problems he is unable to discover the answers to, such as how Yang Ping and he were able to open the tower, why the professor intended to open it in the first place, and why he is constantly receiving books. Officer Han is horrified to hear that his team has discovered Professor Yang alive in the mountains, concealed inside a cave. 3 years later in 1985. In the meantime, the unidentified enormous animals attack Oil City in West China. They leave nothing but devastation in their wake, destroying everything in their path. Han is informed by Professor Yang that this must be the result of opening the tower, so he goes to look into it. Hu Bai's shoulder scar appears to have become more sensitive as a result of this occurrence, and he starts to experience frequent discomfort. His trip to the doctor also makes him visible on the system, revealing his whereabouts to Han. One afternoon, Hu Bai's shoulder discomfort becomes so intense that it unexpectedly ignites a fire on his back. He then starts to exhibit his own abilities, causing all of the library's furniture to float. When Mr. Wang appears, he acts as though everything is normal, and tells Hu Bai that a demonic force that was contaminated by the bat attack has entered his blood, giving him powers but also having the potential to lead him to hell. Unable to comprehend how Mr. Wang is aware of all of this, Hu Bai uses his own abilities to turn the library into an ancient tomb, and disclose that he is Prince Yi's defender from the Su-Lin nation. Like there had been at the tower, there are protective spirits here as well, including Song Sons. According to Mr. Want, Prince Yi, Hu Bai's predecessor, led humanity in the fight against the highly developed demon race that had taken over Earth. The majority of the demons fled the globe after Prince Yi sealed the tower with his own body. Some, however, fled in assumed human form, even going so far as to wed humans. Since Hu Bai is the only descendant who can open the tower and set the demons free once more, they seek him. Officer Han is devastated to hear that Professor Yang has left his team at post 749, but he is soon cheered up by some unexpected news. Shirley has Awakens and says she can remember things again. Therefore she wants to go find her father with Hu Bai. After witnessing so much carnage in the previous mission, Hu Bai declines to return to combat when Han goes to the library to enlist him. But when he hears about Shirley, he soon changes his mind because he misses Yang Ping so much. Mr. Wang believes that going while demons want to catch him to reopen the tower is a poor idea. But Hu Bai is curious about how Yang Ping has returned to life, and since beast spirits are now targeting the prince's tomb as well, something urgently needs to be done. Hu Bai leaves the library with the intention of helping Wang Kaikswan. They go to northern China, where they encounter Chen Dong, a woman named Cao Weiwei, a group of troops, and of course, Shirley, who will be part of the squad searching for the professor. When Hu Bai sees her again, he can't stop crying, but even though she recognizes him, she treats him chilly and demands to be called Shirley rather than Yang Ping. The group rides camels through the desert. They have a few days of calm, before finding themselves in the middle of a sandstorm, so they ride as quickly as they can to get out of it. They overlook a small detail, though, as they enter the oil city ruins. They cross an unbreakable force shield that keeps the storm at bay, which is the only reason the sandstorm no longer follows them. They discover they truly lost a few soldiers during their escape, including Wang Kaikswan, after dismounting in a secure location. This other party, still in the middle of the desert without their camels, is attempting to get to a well site that they have noticed in the distance when all of a sudden, one of these demon-like monsters attacks them. As they flee, they break up, with the demon killing a soldier while the others get at the well site only to discover another demon there. With the exception of Wang Kaikswan and a companion, who discover a bicycle and travel into Oil City to meet up with the rest of the crew, who have been searching the area and have only come across bodies and ruins. This demon murders every man. Hu Bai wants to leave after learning about the demons in order to prevent another bloodbath in the mountains like the one that occurred previously. But Chen Dong and Shirley want to stay in order to complete their goal. Though there isn't much time to talk about this because the crew needs to prepare for battle when the demons discover them. After arming themselves and shooting the first beast, they believe they have killed it and go after the second, but the first one is gone. When they turn around, Hu Bai chases Shirley as she flees into an abandoned school while the group battles monsters. When he looks through a hole in the ground where a number of bodies are hanging from the ceiling, he finds an underground tunnel that leads to the prince's tomb. There is also a demon there, which pushes Hu Bai and causes him pain, but Shirley appears and subdues it before it has a chance to do further damage. She then seals the casket after using her abilities to make Hu Bai's unconscious body float inside of it before she departs. More demons have returned to town, so the group hides on the top floors of buildings and uses remote silver bullet and rocket launcher firing. A handful are struck by them, but the majority of the demons avoid them and scale the buildings to pursue their prey. Pretending to be a mannequin, YY escapes detection and goes to hide inside a bus with Wang Kaikswan. They both do their best to withstand the strikes that the pursuing demon throws at the bus. When Hu Bai awakens inside the coffin, he is eager to get out, but discovers that his wounds are healing extraordinarily quickly and are closing. After the coffin will allow the prince live again, Mr. Wang's ghost appears before him. Hu Bai then experiences a falling into the darkness and appears in front of the tower. There, he may at last discover what has happened to Yang Ping. The beast that had taken hold of her carried her to the cave, where she was dropped upon the flame, burning her corpse and allowing the demon queen to assume control. Shirley is now in charge of the demons and letting them loose on the community. Hu Bai approaches the tower to speak with the queen's soul after the beast has left, and she discovers that Yang Ping, being descended from the queen, is the other person who can open the door. She argues that killing her will also kill Yang Ping, and refuses to give over her corpse. Hu Bai promises to find a method, and the queen finds this funny and sends him back to the city. Hu Bai swiftly shoots the monster that is assaulting the bus to save his buddies, but he is powerless to stop Chen Dong from hanging on the edge of the roof. Demons pursue him relentlessly, but Shirley needs him to open the tower entrance, so she leaps to his aid and hurls a car at the creatures to drive them away. Those who have been attacking their pals are still there and prepared to fire. Chen Dong is even threatening to kill himself rather than give the demon his life by pressing a gun against his temple. Hu Bai, however, shoots Shirley 3 times as he understands he will never be able to bring Yang Ping back. This causes all of the demons to vanish and the tower to collapse. Shirley kisses Hu Bai, admitting that he is the only one who can kill her, then passes out and changes back into Yang Ping. While Hu Bai is grieving over her passing, Yang Ping interrupts her to say how happy she is to see him again. Hu Bai then picks up Yang Ping's body and carries it to the prince's coffin in the hopes that he can heal her. As he brushes her forehead with his, he has a vision of her memories while they are lying down together. Since she was a small child, Yang Ping has possessed abilities, such as the capacity to revive dead people, but her mother has forbidden them from using them. She didn't realize her mother was descended from demons, who assumed human form and wed regular humans, until she witnessed her burn in blue flames. Professor Yang had spent his entire life studying the tower in the hopes that one day, he would be able to protect his daughter from the fate she was destined for. The only reason they made it out of the cave alive was because Yang Ping utilized her abilities to bring them all back to life. Yang Ping tells Hu Bai she loves him before the call ends and asks that she not lose up on finding her father. Honoring this request, Hubei departs the desert on camels with his group, prepared to continue looking as a massive beast looks on from a distance.